keep your body at its peak.
In the 1990s, new packaging revolutionized the bottled water industry by getting the product out of glass bottles and off restaurant tables. In an age of instant gratification, still bottled water provided what people wanted exactly when they wanted it.
People in general are more and more time-pressed. We don't cook our own meals anymore. We eat prepared foods of all kinds. And there's nothing more appealing than a bottle of cold water at a moment when you're really thirsty. Cold water is, in fact, deeply satisfying when you're thirsty. But I think bottled water is one of those products that on many occasions when people buy it, what they're buying isn't the water so much as the bottle. That is, the package and the convenience at that moment.
And when we bought this convenience, what we were really buying was PET, or polyethylene terephthalate, the single most important innovation in the industry's history. Strong, shatterproof, and a highly valued form of polyester, PET is a byproduct of the oil industry. It is now utilized in the packaging of everything from pharmaceuticals and soap to ready meals. In years to come, the environmental impact of PET would haunt the industry and raise questions about its very survival. But in the 1990s, this was a revolution.
Starting with the introduction of the PET waters, the category started to explode. The bottled water industry before PET was essentially on the list of all beverage categories was number 7. With the advent of PET, bottled water jumped from the number 7 to the number 2 spot behind carbonated soft drinks. It started to grow in the 2 billion, 3 billion range every year, phenomenally high growth rates.
Without this revolutionary bottling material, none of this growth could have been achieved. Across business, packaging's role in unlocking new markets and building on existing success is not to be underestimated. After decades of unhindered growth in the food industry, the late 20th and early 21st centuries brought a step change in the way the large multinationals operate. Today, corporate social responsibility and business ethics are at the top of every agenda in every boardroom. The increasing global awareness of the Western consumer has led to huge questions about the power of branding, the power of multinationals, and the power of the globalized market itself. In this new environment, the traditional money-making model enjoyed by so much of big business for so long has disappeared. There are now other considerations beyond responsibility to shareholders. In few places is this more acute than in the food business. Whether selling cereals, yogurt, or water, the future of this industry depends on its ability to adapt in this new environment. And no sector finds itself in the dock as often as the bottled water industry.
Bottled water is the most revealing substance for showing us how the global capitalist market works today. It tells us that we're no longer buying things for their use value. That, in a sense, we're buying choice. We're buying freedom. We're buying all kinds of insubstantial things.
For some of us, choice and freedom is worth the price we pay. But for others, it represents the excess and inequality of the modern world. A world where nearly 1 billion people have no access to clean water at all.
One thing we cannot lose sight of is the ultimate absurdity of the bottled water industry. Here we have a world where people are dying of thirst, where people lack clean water to feed their children, and we're spending billions of dollars and huge amounts of energy moving water from people who already have it to other people who already have it.
Recognizing this inequality was a small group of businessmen who saw an opportunity. If they could create a completely new brand of bottled water, they could subvert the industry from the inside. This they did with a brand they called One Water. Its success was to have a major influence on the industry as a whole.
The bottled water market in the UK is incredibly congested. There are some really big brand leaders out there, the Nestle's, the Danones of this world. But from our perspective, I didn't look at them as competitors. They don't sit in the same area that we do. I just wanted to go out and take a small percentage share of a bigger market that they happen to be sitting in as well.
Where One Water differed from other brands was in its simple proposition. There were to be no shareholders and no dividends. But instead, 100% of their profits would go directly to African water projects.
We can't necessarily affect an industry, though we're trying very hard, but perhaps what we can do is repurpose some of the outcome of that industry for a better cause.
What the One Water brand was tapping into was a concept they called positive brand choice.
Positive brand choice is something I think that consumers have a real appetite for now. We're trying to tell them that by choosing our bottle of water, they could personally be responsible for bringing water to 10 African school kids for a day. And I think that's a really, really powerful proposition.
The consumer's positive brand choice was then turned directly into water projects for Africa.
The idea of play pumps came from something I read in one of the national newspapers, which celebrated this amazing invention, a pump powered by children's play that could pump water industrially into tanks and provide enough water for a whole community. And I thought that was ingenious.
The play pumps gave the consumers of One Water a reason for their positive brand choice, but they also benefited the major retailers.
Our proposition, in a business sense, provides British retailers with brilliant corporate social responsibility stories, but it doesn't cost them anything because all I am asking them to do is to take our range of One products for the same price that they would have bought those products from other suppliers.
With the help of major retailers, One Water has now provided clean water to over 1.4 million people. But they have also influenced the wider industry. Similar programs have been adopted by many of the major brands, with projects with similar models and others addressing the industry's environmental impact. The future success of industry will be measured as much by how globally responsible it is as by how much profit it generates.